the problem is, George Floyd was killed by these people's God, which is the state. Their God killed an innocent man. Imagine finding out that your God is an unjust God and he is brutal and he kills innocent people. That's what's happening. These riots are a result of the fact that these people's God is wicked and just expose themselves as not being a good God. And of course, their God is the state. Their God is the state. And the state is not a good God. That is not a God that you want to rule over you. That is not a God that you want to worship. And now we're seeing the downfall of that God all over the country. And just they don't know how to deal with it. So they set things on fire. They riot, they loot, they raid private businesses, even the private businesses of their own people in their own communities. And they don't have a God of the Bible that can reconcile the difference between grace and justice and injustice and justice and the wickedness of man and how a government is supposed to rule and operate. They don't have that mentality. And they're being lied to by organizations like the Gospel Coalition or these liberal social justice Christians who, instead of using their money and resources to fly out there and to proclaim the gospel, are writing articles that further spreads this racism narrative, which even in its legitimacy of the racism narrative, they're not offering any solution whatsoever to how the government should function under God's law. None of them are. None of them are. On one hand, you have churches who are saying, submit to the government no matter what. And then you have these people that are like, seriously? No matter what? Submit to the government when they kill an innocent man? Submit to the government when they're throwing tear gas on people who are in the streets trying to mourn? Submit to the government no matter what? That's what we have on one hand. We have churches who are doing that. And then on the other hand, we have Christian organizations who are trying to use this to cause unnecessary division and are outright lying and trying to spread, dare I say it, the gospel of George Soros. The open societies, rioting, destroying a civilization from within, all that sort of stuff is what we see. And so cities are on fire right now because these people have been told that their salvation is in the state. These people have been told that their salvation is in the government and who they vote for, and voting Democrat, and even in some instances voting Republican. That's their God. That's their salvation. That's where their rescue is. And now that's been exposed for all to see. It's been exposed for all to see. That sort of wickedness, that sort of injustice on behalf of their God. And they're setting the city on fire. People don't know what to do. They're raging against their God. This is exactly what we see with Elijah when they destroyed themselves because their God failed them. This is exactly what we see. Their God failed them. And their result was they stabbed themselves, they killed each other, they destroyed themselves. And this is why it's so important in a time like this just to preach the gospel. Let's have a concert.